some pretty strange creatures running around back in the day. So anyway, it didn't make sense, or it could have been some other, just a superstitious program going on. But after hearing this whole thing, I was just going, what the heck, what's this, offering severed heads all about? But I think we're going to try to get Kim back on.
Hi, James.
Okay, we're back on again.
We went from phone to Skype, so hopefully this will be better.
Oh, great. Skype's working again.
Yeah.
So anyway, we can go back to that story. So so basically we kind of left off talking about the abduction experience and then seeing the makeup artists. And what's interesting, in that area right there, Malibu, and I think it's Tahunga Canyon and some other areas around there seems to be a lot of crazy UFO activity.
It is definitely a hot spot.
Yeah, I'm wondering why they picked that area. Maybe because Hollywood's there and they can get information out.
Yeah, they can get a lot of publicity there. I believe in energy vortexes on the planet, and I know that Los Angeles is one of the most creative energy vortexes there is. So with all that creative energy, I believe that they're probably... I was drawn there. Lots of creative people are drawn there. So why wouldn't the ETs be drawn there? It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And there's, the Channel Islands, they say that they believe one of the biggest underwater facilities are behind, like, Catalina. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of shows about UFOs going down there and them trying to track them, and there seems to be a lot of water activity as well.
Yeah,
so that's probably what that craft was doing.
What they call them, unidentified submerged objects, or USOs. There is a lot of activity in that area of things coming in and out of the water.
Yeah.
We had an interesting thing in Hawaii, and actually the area where I'm at right now has a long history of sightings of the bay out here glowing, and objects coming up out of the bay and flying around, and USOs in this area too. And there's also some paintings, like frescoes of mm-hmm. very ancient times, with a being that is blue, and he's blessing the chief and the queen or whatever, and or I don't know what you'd call the chief's wife, but whatever. But she's having, and then she has a kid in her arms, and the kid's blue. So,
wow.
So it's really interesting. You're going, well, wait a second. The alien is blue, a blue being. There's a lot of stories in the past about the blue beings, and
right.
and in history, and then the child is blue. So there's definitely been a lot of genetic hanky-panky going on for quite some time.
Absolutely. The main purpose for my new book, The Art of Close Encounters, is I wanted to have something that you could hand to anyone, mm-hmm. that the layman or the contactee, and you could have a nice general overall synopsis of what's going on with UFOs and around the world and ET contact. And I think I succeeded in my goal. And what I did was, the very first chapter, I reached two phenomenal forensic artists, and I had them put together what I thought was just a nice collection of the most seen ETs. And I think there are about 28, maybe 30 images in the first chapter that's called Forensic Art. And it starts with the gray, and then it moves into the hybrids. And, of course, we have the mantis being, and we have the reptilians, and we have the light beings, and we have the Pleiadians. And it goes, all the way to, let's see, what's the last? Here's a blue being as well.
Yeah. Some of the Andromeda.
And what I find fascinating in here is there's one being, if you've been around this phenomenon at all, you know that there are grays and there's reptilians. Well, I have an image of a reptilian gray in this book, which I find is absolutely fascinating. I'm looking at it right now. It's a gray body, gray head, but it's covered with green scales, and it has golden reptilian eyes with a slit pupil.
Mm-hmm.
So not only have they been fooling around with all the human races genetically, it seems that they are all crossbreeding amongst themselves.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess we're all just part of one big genetic game.
That's kind of what's been going on the planet for some time. I know a lot of people don't know the real history of Earth, and now they're digging up things, in the forbidden archaeology and things of that nature that are going back 600 million years, where the Earth has been visited and colonized, and people had to start over again and again due to major cataclysms and disasters. And you go back to Atlantis and Lemuria, which were Palladian colonies, and other star nations joined in as well. We're just this huge genetic soup. We didn't we didn't come from the ape. The ape's still here. So people never thought about that one. But
yeah.
But I think there's been so much tinkering, even with some of the Neanderthal beings that were here. There was some genetic linking with that as well, with the Anunnaki program. But, everybody says they have it all figured out. The Anunnaki came here 400,000 years ago and started tinkering with a knuckle dragger that was already here and created the human species, and that's the end of the story. But the story is not that simple. It's much, much more ancient than that. And the genetic... just the genetics on the Earth, not just human genetics, but plant genetics and animal genetics, have come from so many different star nations that we are just like this giant cosmic zoo.
Right. And I wonder how many more there are like us out there. It would sure be fascinating to know.
Yeah, somebody was saying one day that this is it. They're talking about that, this is it, and we're the only humans, and there's nothing else out there. And I started laughing, and they go, "What's so funny?" And I just said, I go, well, there's 200 billion suns in our little Milky Way galaxy with planets revolving around them, and there's over 500 billion galaxies out there, and that's just three-dimensional. Let's talk about the other dimensions and Michio Kaku's work and things like that. And I said, it's just mind-boggling that anybody could even comprehend the idea to me that we're it. And if we're the best God has to offer, we're the sorry universe out there. I'm really praying there's got to be someone out there a little more intelligent than us, because we don't know how to do anything other than war and destroy each other and our environment. And hopefully somebody out there has it right, and they might be able to help us out a little bit.
Well, all of my contacts had some kind of reference to how we are destroying the earth, and it's time. I was quoted, it's a very long quote, but the last line will stay with me forever. It's time to save Mother Earth from her inhabitants. Yeah. And I know they weren't talking about the animals. So I hope that they're here to help us ascend. It seems to me that they are. As bad as my experiences were sometimes, I've never said that the Greys were negative. It seems to me that they're very concerned about the planet, and they're creating other species that are taking the best of a lot of different species, and hopefully, they will come here and help us. Hopefully the hybrids will show up. I would love for my hybrid children to be here on the planet. And, hopefully the 100th monkey story will help, spread the consciousness throughout the planet. I don't know. I was on a craft, and I was taken into 2 or 3 times into different rooms that had tanks with these different combinations of DNA, and I saw children of every race. I saw skin colors and hair colors that you would never expect that were, mixed up. I saw beings that were 10% alien and 90% human and everything in between. So it looks like they're really, really searching for, the best possible combinations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to get interesting. I hope they don't phase out the ones that are here now, but
I think we're going to phase ourselves out, but hopefully not.
I love those bumper stickers, that say, save the humans. It's because we're the ones that are going to need saving here, because the Earth's going to reset herself and do her thing and straighten things out, and we're so out of the loop, you might say, and so unnatural in what we've done, and it wouldn't take much. You really think about it, just with it. We're such a technological society, and our technology is very fragile. It's so much more fragile than people think, and all we need is one big solar flare, and we're back to bows and arrows again. And it's not that. Even the scientists are saying that it's just a matter of time. But I'm really feeling too that magnetics are changing on the planet, and that is going to wreak havoc on a lot of technology in the future. But there are technologies such as zero-point technology and things of that nature, that aren't affected. They wouldn't be affected by a solar pulse or a magnetic EMP pulse or anything of that nature, because they have their own fields of energy and ways of shielding themselves. And it's sad that we don't get this online and get it going, because
it's beyond sad. It's ridiculous. Yeah. We have this technology. It's all over the world. Why it's being suppressed is, well, we know why it's being suppressed, because they want to use it for evil things. And it's so frustrating. But hopefully.
It's the enslavement through dependency program, and when you bring this, I always tell people you've got the war industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the oil industry running the planet basically, and these beings represent a threat to each one of those, because they talk about peace. They've come to terms with they talk about universal peace, which is a real threat to the war industry. They have the cure for every disease we can imagine, and then some. And so that would be a threat to the pharmaceutical industry. And, also, too, they have fuelless energy technology. So there goes the oil industry. And people go, well, why are UFOs such a threat? And there you go. There's your answer. But they're not a threat. They're not a threat to humanity. They're a threat to the elite. And those are the ones that are calling the shots right now, unfortunately.
So when are the ETs going to start calling the shots?
I think it's coming pretty soon. I think nature and the ETs are going to get together, and we've got some major lessons coming around the pike. And what they told me, I'll tell you my latest information. I was meditating, and they told me that there's been a changing of the guard, kind of, you might say, and some of the low-level stuff is shifting and phasing out, and they talk a lot about the Pleiadians have a lot more stock here than anybody else, because of the colonies of Atlantis and Lemuria, which they started, and they have some karmic things too, as well as that happened back then. So they're going to be taking the forefront on this shift that's going on. And they're working very intensely on the grids, and through inspiration and through the Earth's grids. It's shifting the grids, and this old patriarchal tyranny grid we have going right now is folding in on itself. It's imploding, and a new grid is taking its place. But they're not alone. I mean, there's a whole consortium of beings that are working in this process. But they told me just recently that they're kind of taking the helm, and they're going to get a lot more proactive.
Well, that's good news. You keep that kind of information coming in, okay?
Yeah, they almost sound biblical when they talk. It's interesting. They talk about God as a frequency and a force, and they talk about a feminine energy that's just coming in real strong right now, and they're more of a feminine